You know, it could happen to a nicer guy. You know, a lot of people are scared. It's like, oh my God, he's gonna be so undignified. And when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about the 9 New Yorkers that didn't vote for him, okay? No. People are like, he's gonna be so undignified. It's the presidency of the United States.
Chris Rock didn't just call out JD Vance and Donald Trump. He rolled in like a comedic wrecking ball, wearing Timbs, holding a mic, and sporting zero chill. One minute he's roasting their policies. The next, he's roasting their very existence. Vance looked like he just lost a spelling bee on live TV. And Trump, he looked like he got hit with 1,000 late-night punchlines all at once. Rock turned political commentary into a stand-up.
We need bully shit. That's how Trump became president. That's exactly what happened. We got rid of bullies, a real bully showed up, and nobody knew how to handle it. Shit. The cast of The Apprentice is running the world. Trump, the daughter, Omarosa, they run the world.
Demolition job, and trust me, no one left that stage with their dignity intact. Before we move on, smash that like button and subscribe, because you definitely don't want to miss out on this one. Chris Rock, a man who's built a career out of roasting the world's most powerful figures, didn't hold back when it came to JD Vance and Donald Trump. But let's be real here, JD Vance? Oh boy. JD Vance is like that guy at a party who insists he's super into music, but only talks about top 40 hits and calls himself an indie rock fan because he watched One Tree Hill. In his infinite wisdom, Vance has decided he's the voice of the working class, the new political face of the forgotten American worker.
Big thing, Trump, man, Trump, man. Trump had a good year, man. Trump survived an assassination attempt. Won the presidency again by winning the popular vote. Was just named...
Or whatever tagline he's using this week to justify his lack of original thought. It's almost hard to believe that JD Vance, who spent a chunk of his life being celebrated as a working-class hero and the voice of the voiceless, is the same guy who once tried to escape his own roots by going to Stanford University and writing a book that turned his struggle into a personal branding exercise. Vance's whole shtick is that he grew up dirt poor in the Rust Belt, and because of his incredible rise, he's now going to lead the charge against the elite establishment. Except here's the rub. He's kind of become the elite establishment in the process. A little bit of a hypocrite, maybe? But hey, if it weren't for that
talking with a friend recently, and we were talking about, one of the big dangers in the world, of course, is nuclear proliferation, though, of course, the Biden administration doesn't care about it. And I was talking about, what is the first truly Islamist country that will get a nuclear weapon? And we were like, maybe it's Iran, maybe Pakistan already kind of counts. And then we sort of finally decided maybe it's actually the UK, since Labour just took over. But to my Tory friends, I have to say, you guys have got to get...
An annoying thing called integrity. JD might actually have a political career that makes sense. JD Vance, the man, the myth, the working class hero. Or at least, that's how he wants you to see him. His background is painted so perfectly that you almost expect him to stroll around in a flannel shirt, carrying a wood saw. But let's peel back the layers of JD Vance's relatable past and his supposed understanding of the working class. Because, spoiler alert, the guy who claims to be the voice of the forgotten American worker now spends his days in a world
The Trump administration is troubled by reports that some foreign governments are considering tightening the screws on U.S. tech companies with international footprints. Now, America cannot and will not accept that, and we think it's a terrible mistake, not just for the United States of America, but for your own countries. And let me be emphatic about this point. America wants to partner with all of you, and we want to embark on the AI revolution before us with a spirit of openness.
Caviar dreams, private jets, and fancy conferences with the very elite crowd he pretends to fight against. Sure, JD Vance grew up in a poor, working-class neighborhood, He probably ate his fair share of ramen noodles while navigating the tough streets of Ohio. We'll give him that. But let's not forget, after snagging the golden ticket to Stanford, he went on to write a memoir that's essentially a self-congratulatory tale about how he made it out. So far, so good, right? But here's where it gets interesting. JD Vance went from living in the struggle to becoming a millionaire who seriously believes he's the voice of the people. You know, that guy who goes from blue-collar worker to Silicon Valley insider and just doesn't seem to notice the massive gap? Yeah, that's JD, the man.
Somebody that was born in a rough situation. Most of the people know that situation because it was very well documented in his book. And I have a lot of respect for somebody that can get into Yale and become one of the best students in Yale, that meets a young woman at Yale who was also outstanding, and they get married, they have a beautiful family, but he had he's made himself an amazing life. He then goes to Ohio, lives in Ohio, and...
I first met JD back in 2017, about a year after his book, Hillbilly Elegy, became a New York Times bestseller. The book dropped in the middle of the 2016 election cycle. It was JD's personal story of growing up in Appalachia, dealing with grave family turmoil, poverty, societal decay, abuse, family addiction, and eventually his path
sold out his own story for fame and fortune, yet still somehow believes he's got the common man on speed dial. It's almost like watching someone turn their biggest flaw into their most marketable trait, like the guy who couldn't wait to escape his humble beginnings, now repackaging his life story for political gain. Vance, with his elite university education, book deal, and political rise, is still trying to sell you the idea that he's just another guy from the block fighting for the people. But instead of getting his hands dirty, he's busy sitting at $500 a plate dinners and delivering unconvincing speeches about the same middle-class struggle he left behind. This is the ultimate transformation, the beautiful arc of someone who used to eat hot dogs but now has a $30 wine collection and probably thinks Aldi is a foreign country. It's like watching the rich kid from private school show up at the reunion claiming, "I totally get what it's like to struggle." You know, the ones who grew up in mansions and never had to worry about anything except whether their Tesla was clean enough for brunch. JD Vance is that guy. He's the political version of the kid who never had to work, but insists they understand struggle because they once worked a weekend shift at a local Starbucks. Sure, JD. Just like we all believe the CEO who claims they worked their way up from nothing, despite having been handed every advantage along the way. At what point do we stop pretending that Vance actually gets it? It's one thing to have a humble background, but it's another to act like you're still the same struggling person after.
Rhetoric and in the policy is, we believe in the Trump administration that babies are good, that families are good, and we want to make it easier for young moms and young dads to choose life, to start families, and to bring new life into the world. That's the whole point of our
You've left all those
policy.
problems behind. The truth is, JD Vance's rise to power has been more about a self-serving upward trajectory than a true story of redemption. Sure, he wrote a book about his humble beginnings, but now he's sitting with billionaires telling them he's the voice of the working man. The contradiction here isn't just comical, it's tragic. Let's take a minute to really analyze this. Vance now talks about the economic struggles of America, like he's some kind of blue-collar oracle. The arrogance is astounding. He's the ultimate politician who wants to say, "Look, I get you," while sipping his $20 coffee ethically sourced from the most exclusive farms in South America.
Americans' economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
Wow, a vice president who is as dumb as he's aggressive. That takes some doing because, Mr. Vice President, that's some random country that's not fought a war.
Political strategy? Stick to the relatable narrative. But here's the problem. No one relates to a guy who actively benefits from the very system he's supposed to be fighting against. Nice try, though. To make matters worse, let's talk about his relationship with Trump. JD Vance used to be publicly critical of Trump, but now? Well, now he's practically Trump's #1 fan. This is the same guy who constantly sells his working-class persona, yet turns around and cozies up to a man who is the embodiment of corporate greed and elitism. Vance's about-face on Trump is like watching a comedian switch political parties mid-set. It makes no sense and leaves everyone scratching their heads. So what's Vance's excuse? Is it just political opportunism? Desperation for power? Or is he really that desperate to maintain relevancy in a Republican Party that's leaning further to the extreme right? Chris Rock, being the comedic genius he is, didn't waste any time, dissecting Vance's entire existence. Vance's face probably turned redder than a tomato after Rock took aim at his political background. And let's not even get started on his magnificent transformation.
Because I'm used to just having them. It's 3 months, right? So he asked me the Monday of the RNC convention, which I think was June 15th. And I really didn't know that morning. I thought that he was probably going to pick me, but I didn't know for sure. Probably 60-40, basically. And so I had no idea. I get the call around 1 o'clock at Milwaukee time at the RNC.
From humble, down-to-earth, small-town boy to full-on red-meat conservative senator hopeful, Vance's political trajectory could be summed up as a slow-motion wrecking ball. It's clumsy, embarrassing, and terrible at hitting anything that matters. Oh, Chris Rock? He doesn't just sit on the sidelines, no, he goes straight for the jugular. He's the kind of guy who roasts you without even giving you a moment to. Catch your breath before the next joke lands. Watching Rock make fun of Vance is like watching a dog chase a car. You're not sure who's more confused, the dog or the car, but Rock isn't just calling out Vance for his personal contradictions. Oh no, he's also tearing apart his entire political platform, which, by the way, is as stable as a house built on quicksand. Vance wants to be the guy who saves the working class, but guess what? Turns out JD's version of saving the working class is like offering a glass of water to someone drowning in a pool of corporate donations. The man claims to understand the struggles of the people, but all you see when you look at him is someone so out of touch you'd think he was running a campaign for president of the moon. Rock's one-liner about Vance's whole gentrification of the working class hit harder than any punch in a stand-up routine.
Crazy Menendez brothers getting out of jail? Menendez brothers. Yeah, getting out of jail. Just in time to get deported. Trump is gonna deport their ass, you murdering Mexicans.
JD Vance has become a walking contradiction, selling the working class struggle while sipping a $15 zero-calorie latte from Whole Foods and chatting with his corporate backers about how to fix the economy by cutting taxes for billionaires. Classic. How's that? Let me know if you want any adjustments. And what about his close relationship with Trump? Chris Rock didn't miss the chance to call that one out either. Let's be real. Vance's entire campaign feels like it was written straight from the Trump playbook, right down to the completely fabricated storylines about fighting for the working people and draining the swamp. The problem? Vance's swamp is basically a political country club now. I'm not saying Vance's transformation from struggling working-class guy to self-made millionaire and political elitist is a bad career move. I'm just saying it's about
as... If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you.
This really was a blistering speech by JD Vance. He really came out swinging against some of the U.S.'s closest allies, Great Britain, Germany, and others. This was really a broadside, a scolding of Europe's democracies.
As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think,
Believable
what
as
to
Donald
feel.
Trump running a charity for the underprivileged. Rock's sharp wit came through when he compared Vance's political aspirations to someone who wants to be the life of the party, but shows up with the wrong drinks. And no charisma. The sheer lack of authenticity in Vance's rhetoric is enough to make any comedian salivate, and Rock definitely didn't disappoint. If Vance's political career were a movie, it would be the worst kind of remake. Same plot, but somehow, the actors have forgotten their lines and just keep repeating